Hi, my name is Jack Griffin, and this is my senior project, College Cravings. It is a cookbook that is a guide to snacking, munching, grubbing, and stress eating for college students across America. This presentation will include why I decided to do it, how I went about getting and learning the recipes inside this cookbook, an overview of the cookbook and the recipes inside, some setbacks and project adjustments I had to make, a time log of the work that I did during this project, and my takeaways from the project itself. So, my motivation for doing the project. I decided to do this project for a couple reasons. Namely, I like food a lot. I really enjoy cooking food, eating food, everything to do with food, and I thought that going into college, I want to learn how to be able to provide for myself once I'm out of my parents' house and once I don't have a traditional kitchen setting, like in a dorm room or another place that I might be living for the next couple of years. Too many college students spend a lot of money on meal plans, a lot of money on food outside of college, and I believe this cookbook is a way for them to save money, save time, and still have really good meals. So, an overview of what this project contained. I created a 17 recipe cookbook designed specifically for college students. The cookbook recipes all can be made in a traditional dorm setting or kitchen setting that wouldn't normally be able to make food. So you have very simple things you can make food with, like a hot plate, a griddle, a microwave, a toaster, a blender, just everything you could fit in a dorm room. This is the process of how I actually made the cookbook. I started compiling recipes by talking to different college students, researching online recipes that college people typically eat and food that they typically have in a dorm setting. I started posting some of my progress on my research and making and testing out recipes on my Instagram, Cheese Writes a Cookbook. I was initially going to do 5 breakfast, 5 lunch, 5 snack, and 5 dessert recipes, but I ended up shortening it to 17 total recipes, as it fit the format of my book well, and I tested well over 25 to 30 recipes, but I ended up settling on these 17 as the best quality recipes for my cookbook. I tested every single recipe that I found, and I took pictures of the food that like I said, I could display on my Instagram, and that I could display in the actual cookbook itself if people needed a visual reference for the type of food that they were making. I put the cookbook together, formatted it, edited it, and published it on the website createmycookbook.com. I manually entered every single recipe, typed the ingredients, typed the serving sizes, typed the description of how to make it, and added photos. I split all the recipes into categories. The categories I listed before, which was breakfast, lunch, dessert, and snack. And each recipe took around 45 minutes to actually format into this book. So this is my cookbook, College Cravings, Recipes for Busy College Students by Jack Griffin. This right here is a little spiel I made about why I decided to make the cookbook. It's a lot of what I said before. I started it with the goal of compiling recipes that kids can eat and enjoy in college in a less than typical kitchen setting where they can still make food, provide for themselves, learn essential cooking tools, and make really good food in the process that's cheap and delicious. Like I said, I wanted to be able to learn how to cook for myself, and so I took on this project hoping that while I was making this cookbook, I can learn a bunch of different recipes that I could use once I go from my high school life to my college life. And I hope, like I said, I hope that they enjoy reading the book and they have fun cooking. On the right here is the table of contents for the book. It is divided into categories: breakfast, lunch, snack, and dessert. And I have 5 breakfast, 4 lunch, 3 snack, 5 dessert. This is the breakfast tab, and one of the recipes, it's a Southwestern omelet. As you can see, all the recipes have the ingredients at the top, a description of how you make them. It's a little paragraph that describes step by step everything you need to do, and then a photo at the end to show what the finished product should look like. These are 2 other recipes. Some of them are 2 per page, so they have no photo, but it still is a very clear description, so you should understand without having a photo what you need to do in order to make the recipe. But then some of them, like this one, have the photo at the bottom. All of these recipes are fairly simple, and they require fairly little ingredients and cooking supplies. Like this one here only requires a pan and a hot plate to make. And all you need to do is cut a hole in the bread, crack an egg in, cook it on one side, flip it, and then enjoy it with whatever condiments, whatever hot sauce you like. This is a slightly more complicated recipe. It's for crusted French toast. It's just traditional French toast, but you can dip it in crushed. I use Frosted Flakes, but it can be crushed any type of cereal like that. It adds a crunchy crust along the outside of the toast, and it makes it taste just that much better. However, a lot of these recipes you can modify to how you would like the food to be cooked. So for this French toast, if you don't want crusted, you can simply remove the Frosted Flakes and you still have the rest of the ingredients are the exact same, and you will still get delicious French toast. It just won't be crusted French toast. For lunch, these are the items I chose. A lot of them use what kids would traditionally have in a college setting, which is stuff like ramen, leftover rice, cheeseburgers, simple stuff that a lot of them are really simple to make. This one here, it describes exactly how to cut the avocado. Again, I use hot sauce as a seasoning, hot sauce as a condiment, but you can use whatever you think is most important for your avocado toast. If you want to add some sort of arugula or salt and pepper or any other toppings, you can do that as you desire. This right here is a simple peanut butter and jelly sandwich recipe. However, I changed the bread out for Eggo waffles because I found that this is a small twist on the classic peanut butter and jelly sandwich. It allows it to be really unique and allows it to still taste really good. And so I obviously don't have the college student making their own Eggo waffles because that's a lot of time that college students don't typically have, and that's a lot of ingredients and baking that they might not be able to do. So just having simple frozen Eggo waffles, toasting them using peanut butter and jelly as desired, can still be a really delicious outcome without making the whole kitchen, the whole dorm room a mess. Some of the desserts I have, again, stuff like this, it can be easily modified depending on how you want it to your specifications. For this, it could be just chocolate in the smocko, it could be chocolate marshmallows, graham crackers, whatever you want inside the tortilla. It's just the basic concept of a tortilla that you cook on a hot plate with a pan, and you get a nice dessert item. This is a Rice Krispie treat. I called it marshmallow treats because they're not just Rice Krispie treats. It could be Rice Krispie treats. It could be these are Fruity Pebble treats, so they're made with Fruity Pebbles, or you can make them with Cocoa Puffs, Cocoa Pebbles, any other cereal you want. But again, here's a photo showing what it should look like at the end and steps showing how to make it. These two, this one in the top is simple. It's got 3-ish ingredients, 3 to 4 ingredients, and it can be made at any time with only bananas, whipped cream, sugar, and lemon juice. And this last one, again, I didn't have the students make I didn't have them make cake from scratch. I had them buy boxed cake mix, and then I simply told them that you can mix it exactly like it says. The cake is up to your whatever you want, what kind of cake, chocolate, vanilla, I did funfetti, and it describes how to take cake mix, and instead of putting it in an oven, you can put it in a waffle iron and it still has the same result. So I had to overcome several obstacles while making this presentation and making this cookbook. The things I had to change about my project, the coronavirus pandemic had a negative impact on my project in several ways. My community aspect and my culminating event were both ruined. For my community aspect, I was going to try and sell the book, physical copies of the book, to people that I know and people who I thought would be interested in the book, and raise those funds and donate those funds towards a local charity or a local scholarship fund that can help students in college get money for food if they can't afford it. I could not, because of the pandemic and because I could no longer see people in person, I was unable to sell physical copies of the book. So I had to buy an ebook online, and that's what I presented to you just now. That was the ebook copy of my book. Because I can't sell physical copies, I decided that the best I can do for my community, instead of selling the book and donating the money, is giving the book away for free to anyone who needs it. I am still considering on selling the book at a later date, but for right now, the best I can do while stuck indoors is give the book away to anyone who I think needs tips on how to cook and how to get better preparing for their future. For my culminating event, I was going to have a fundraising event for my book where I could sell food items in the book. I could sell the actual physical book, and I could make money in order to, again, donate to a local scholarship fund or a local charity. But I can't obviously meet in groups of any people, so I can't have a fundraising event. So I thought my culminating event would be the creation of the book itself. Again, these are the adjustments I made. I made the book as a culminating event rather than having the fundraising event in person. And I changed my community aspect to giving the book away to anyone I thought needs it. I had to modify my hours in order to make sure I still reached the 50-hour threshold for this project. So I had to do a lot more research online and a lot more looking up recipes and testing out recipes in my home because I couldn't go out and do fundraising events and publicity events for my book in person. So those wouldn't take up any hours, and so I had to adjust as needed. This is a very simple time log. I didn't keep a log of every specific time I made a recipe, but for all of the editing and formatting of the book, it took around 20 hours from when I started the project, from when I started opening createmycookbook.com for the first time, to when I published it, when I officially bought the ebook that I presented to you today. It took around 20 hours of editing, 20 hours of recipe writing, recipe testing, and then the actual cooking, testing, and modifying and researching all the recipes. That took around 22 hours. It was, again, it says 17 recipes, but I tested well over 25 in order to try and find the best ones for the cookbook. But I settled on these 17 I thought were the best for the cookbook. They tasted the best. They could be made quickly. They could be made effectively, and they could be made in a dorm setting. Recipe research took around 5 to 6 hours, and so I did a lot of research about YouTube videos and internet articles about stuff that could be made in a traditional dorm setting, and blogs that people had written about what they thought was really important for a dorm room meal. I talked to some college students before the virus outbreak happened, and I asked their opinion on what they thought would be best for a cookbook, and that was around 2 to 3 hours of conversations with people that I know and 2 to 3 hours of research. And then again, posting up social media and trying to raise publicity for the book before the quarantine. I did about 2 to 3 hours of that. However, all of those were directed towards trying to get people to go to my fundraiser, and my fundraiser had to be canceled, so most of that time was irrelevant. But in total, the project accounted for around 54 to 55 hours of hard work in order to try and make this cookbook possible. My takeaways from the project, I learned how to cook a bunch of different foods, from breakfast to lunch to dinner, to vegetables, to meats, to eggs, to any different types of food. And I learned what it takes to cook food, even in a setting like a dorm room where you don't have an oven, you don't have a lot of stuff that you can make food effectively with. And I learned a lot of what it takes to work independently on a project, because I did the bulk work of this project between March 13th and now, which is when I was stuck at home with no teacher to help guide. And so it was a lot of independent work to try and get this project done. And I worked with very limited resources and supplies, like a college student would when they're cooking food, and I still managed to achieve the goal of making the cookbook and trying out all of these recipes. So my overall thoughts on the project, I really enjoyed making this cookbook, learning about cooking in general, and working on this project. And I think a lot of the skills that I learned when I was making this food and making these recipes can help me in a lot of different aspects of my life, from being an independent adult and to working on a project independently, to starting a project and seeing it through to the end, to perseverance through tough obstacles like the coronavirus pandemic and stuff going on right now on the outside. And I've just learned a lot about what it takes to be an adult on your own and live in your own apartment, live in your own dorm room, and make your food for yourself. So this, I believe, can really help me in the next 4 years in college when I get hungry, but also just in life in general. So thank you for listening.